Ukraine's counter-offensive continues to gain ground, but has yet to lead to a decisive breakthrough. As the attrition continues on the battlefield, and drones attack targets inside Russia, The Economist's senior editors in London and Kyiv discuss how Ukrainians are preparing for the war to last for years, and what that means for the future of the conflict.
The real question is not, is this Ukrainian offensive going to smash the Russian lines? I think that's unlikely. The real question we face is, how does it set both sides up for the next phase of this war, particularly the spring fighting to come next year, because this is turning into a longer war of attrition.
Ukrainians have recognized that this is going to be a long war. This has become a new normal. I think Ukrainians actually don't like now talking about the timelines. There's almost a irritation with people saying, when is it going to end? It will end when Ukrainian victory comes. It's an existential war. The economy, the people, and particularly the mindset has to adjust to that.
Increasingly, I worry about the difficulty of selling this. The message was, this counteroffensive's coming, it's going to be important, we're going to measure Ukraine's progress. But there isn't a story out there about how this war is going to be won. And it's a very difficult message to sell. We think there's not going to be much progress, but we're still supporting you. Let's lower expectations here, but this is still a worthy fight. I think it's important that leaders of Ukraine's allies start to reframe this fight and say what it's about, because the narrative has got left behind.
And there is, of course, a second front in this war, which has become much more visible in the past few weeks, which is the capability of Ukraine to lob drones inside Russian territory.
The range of Ukrainian drones is going up. The capacity, the payload they can carry is going up. We're now seeing not just strikes on politically sensitive targets in Moscow, but also, and I think this is just as important, quite low-cost strikes against things like strategic bombers. We saw a Tupolev 22 strategic bomber taken out by a low-cost Ukrainian drone.
This is bringing war back to Russia. Putin's war from the very beginning rested on the idea that this is a special military operation, not a war, and nothing is going to change for you. The picture has been cracking and now shattering for some time. Moscow airports have been closed almost every other day, flights diverted. For an ordinary Russian for whom the war was on television is now really starting to question, what is going on here? How long is this going to go on for Russia? So I think what's happening on the home front, on the deep strikes inside Russia, is now as important to watch as what's happening on the front lines.
A big concern all the way through the war has been about Russia's escalation. And one reason why the Americans have not given, particularly the Americans, but the Germans as well, have not given Ukrainians higher caliber weapons earlier has been the fear that this might provoke Russian escalation. It's very interesting to see that Ukraine is now routinely striking inside Russia without provoking a reaction at all. And I wonder how that will affect the outside world's willingness to give Ukraine the weapons it needs.
The pressure on Russia will be kept up by these kind of means. And I think that is going to be an important part of the battle of attrition that will continue through the winter and will shape the balance of power on the two sides at the beginning of 2024.
One of the reasons why I think it's futile to think about peace right now is that neither side feels that they've reached a sense of conclusion, that there's no point in fighting on. Both sides think that they can prove something if they just last longer on the battlefield.
I think the most important question for me is the balance of attrition and the position that Ukraine is in to be able to inflict continued attrition. So first of all, not just how far have they got, but how weakened are they? Have they got something left in the tank? Can they reconstitute over the winter period, or are they completely spent in ways that make them exceptionally vulnerable?
My sense of how this war ends is when the people around Putin have a feeling that it's futile. There is no real theory of victory available, that money and lives are just being wasted.
Attrition is not just about the rate of artillery supplies, of the shells, of the military progress. Attrition is about economic strength, about cohesion of societies, because for Ukraine, and I've been only reminded about this all too powerfully while being here, this is an existential war. And that requires mobilization, not just people at the front, it requires mobilization of economic resources, of new ways of doing things, of reforming and learning how to survive and live and retain your values in this war. So it's about economy, it's about social cohesion, it's about political institutions, about holding things together on the Ukrainian side, and the same is true for Russia. It's the societal and economic and political factors that I think I will be watching most carefully in this war of attrition.
Thanks for watching. If you found the conversation about the conflict in Ukraine interesting and want to see more of the paper's coverage, why not take out a subscription to The Economist? For the best deals, click on the link.